Hey everyone, welcome back to Back in Diapers. I am Brittany, Binky, whatever you want to call me. Um, I thought I would do a little bit of a history with you guys because I've got a lot of new subscribers. I got a lot of people asking questions, and I thought I would give a little bit of a rundown of things and what's going on health-wise and how I got to this point, how I became the incontinent girl, and all that stuff. So, I was born into a family. Okay, maybe that's a little too early. No. I am number 3 of 5. And I sound like Star Trek. Yes, I am 3 of 5. I have 4 sisters. Grew up in a very happy family, or so I thought. But ever since I was a very, very young child, I knew that there was this disease in our family from my father's side. I knew Grandma died of it. Grandma died from it. And I knew that my dad had it, and 2 or 3 of his siblings had it, and him. And I knew that some of us were going to have it. And I guess I never really realized as a kid how much that affected life. But I also knew I'm going to be the one with this disease because I am the most like Dad. I look the most like Dad. I act the most like Dad. I'm going to have it. And it turns out that when I was I think I was 14 or 15, I found out that I was right. I had the disease. The disease is a fairly rare disease. A lot of doctors don't even know what it is. Like my primary doctors through the years have been like, huh? But I have familial adenomatous polyposis, also known as FAP. I also have an offshoot of that disease called Garner's syndrome. This disease means I have a gene that is missing, and this gene that I am missing tells your body to not grow certain things, like polyps in your colon, or in your stomach, or in your small intestine. There's things that it affects, like it causes growth, like osteomas or lipomas. Osteomas are bone growths, lipomas are like a fatty tissue growth. I have had 2 lipomas removed, and I do have, I believe, an osteoma on my foot. In my toe. It's been there for forever. Not always, but it's been there for a long time. And when we were diagnosed, when we got that call that my poor mother dreaded for her whole life. And they said 2 of your children have this disease. And they told us which 2. And I knew. I did cry, but I knew all along. And I guess that kind of prepared me for, my bird is nodding at me. I guess that kind of prepared me for the many years to come. When this disease is first diagnosed, often in the past, it's been diagnosed through, like my grandmother had it, and then my father's siblings and him had to have colonoscopies every so many years. Once it was diagnosed, once they saw the growths in the colon and stuff, you were diagnosed. You had FAP. But they also had to keep scanning all the other siblings that didn't initially show growth. Every 5 years, they had to get checked out. And then by the time I was a kid, in my teens, the wonderful thing of genetic testing was around. And my family, my immediate family, was the first one to get this in our family. My dad, primarily. Identifying his gene would help all of his siblings and all of their children figure out if they had it or not. And we all 4 got tested at once so that we would all get the results. And it turns out that me and my little sister, the youngest, so I'm the middle. My oldest sister is not my father's child biologically, so she didn't have to get tested, but he had 4 biological children. There was my older sister, me, and then my 2 younger sisters. So me and the youngest have it. It skipped each child. It was kind of funny. But that process became interesting. We then had to, from there, once we found out we had it, started seeing a GI doctor. and we had to go through colonoscopies and endoscopies, and we had to do those every year. When we went to our first one, I remember this pretty clearly. My sister and I went together. I went first, she went next. Surprisingly, I was not ready to, that was the first indication of some things. No, I was not a fast waker-upper. But they said, you have 15 polyps, and she has 3. Which wasn't that odd because, I'm older. And it doesn't appear that our family has that early onset. But we also knew that from that point of the day we got the diagnosis, we knew that someday we were going to have surgery. It's just a matter of when. Because in this disease, if you do not get your colon taken out, you will have cancer by the time you are in your 30s. You will have colon cancer. So I decided, and we decided fairly quickly. I was about 15, I think, when we started. My little sister was like 10, because we're 5 years apart. And we kind of thought, when I graduate high school is a good time to do it, because then I can get that done, and then I can go right into college, that fall. And life had a very different plan for me, guys. I graduated high school. Took me a little while. I did not graduate quickly. I was actually, due to my birth date, I was almost a year behind everybody. Not that bad, but enough. I graduated at almost 19 instead of 18. Or was I 19? No, I was 18. But we're going to move positions a little bit because my foot is asleep. So when I turned 18, we went to Cleveland, Ohio. Never been to Cleveland, Ohio before that. And we went to go see the primary recommended doctor that dealt with this disease. And I'm going to find my e-cig because I don't know where I put it. I put it somewhere, guys. I'm always doing this. Oh, well. Found it. And we went to the doctor, and he was like, well, we're going to do a scan because we want to see where your polyps are in your body, in your colon, so that we know which surgery we go for. There are 2 different ones. One is a partial colectomy, and the other one is a total colectomy with the formation of a J-pouch, or ileoanal pull-through, I believe it's called. But its nickname is J-pouch. So they did a colonoscopy, they did a look, and they said, well, you qualify for the first surgery. You only have 4 polyps in your rectum, which means we don't have to, oh my God, my foot's asleep, which means we don't have to take out your whole colon. This just means we'll leave a few inches, and you'll get scoped every year, like you have been. They'll remove the polyps as necessary. They'll test them. You'll be good to go. And so it was, I believe, October of 2005. October of 2005. Right before I turned, or was it? Yeah, I think it was October of 2005. We made our way up to the Cleveland Clinic. We stayed in charity housing, and I did all the prep for the surgery. And this was miserable. It was a miserable night for me. Went into surgery the next day. And it all went well. Surgery went fine. I remember they let my mom come in I believe they let her come into the emergency room while they got me put to sleep. And we already knew at this point I did not do IVs well. So they put me to sleep before the IV. I've had, back when I was like 15, I actually had my lipomas, or on this wrist, I had my lipoma removed, and they tried to do an IV. That was bad. They're like, she's going under general. We're putting her under with a mask, and we'll put it in when she's asleep. That trend proceeded through the rest of my life. But yeah, that surgery did not go as we planned. That recovery, I should say. Just a few days into things, they started feeding me again. My bowels woke up. and something wasn't right. I was not able to eat. The smell of food nauseated me to no end. I couldn't even have it in my room. They'd bring it and I'd be like, Mom, get it out. Meet them at the door. Don't let it in here. And, she'd eat my food because, well, you're not going to eat it. But she literally had to go down the hallway to eat my food, to eat the food, because I was so sick to my stomach that I could not even stomach that. And it got to the point where I just wasn't eating. And they started telling my mom, she's got an eating disorder. She's just got an eating disorder. She's scared to eat. And my mom's like, my daughter came in here at 160 pounds at 18 years old, 160 pounds, and eating everything. Like, she's a great eater. And they're like, no, she's got an eating disorder. That's what it is. Finally, about, I would say 5-6 days in, maybe 4 or 5 days in. I don't remember all this very well. I do remember this one thing, though. They decided to take a look at things because I wasn't using the bathroom. I was using the bathroom, but I wasn't able to keep things. So they decided to do a barium x-ray, which was mistake number 1. Guys, if you've ever had an intestinal surgery, don't let them do a barium x-ray right after. Because this is the moment I believe that fully changed my life. They did the barium x-ray, and I got the barium down, very small amounts of it. And I remember this moment very, very clearly. They were down taking x-rays every about 15 minutes, half hour. Once you drink the barium, they let it go through your system, and they take x-rays as it goes to take a look at what's going on. And I remember being in the area where they were keeping me in between, and all of a sudden I had the worst pain of my life. Absolute worst pain of my life. And that was the moment I fully 100% believe my intestines burst apart. And I was screaming in pain. And they got someone in there and they're like, what's your pain level on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst? And I screamed at them, it's a 20. It's a 20. Got someone down there to give me some Toradol, which is IV ibuprofen. I'm screaming at you, this is a 20, this is a 20, and they give you frickin' IV Toradol, or IV ibuprofen. So they get done with the test and they're like, nothing's wrong. Which is kind of funny because once we got home, we realized that they totally missed something. That being said, several days later, it's been a week and all I can eat a day is 3 Cheerios a day. I'm not drinking water. I'm not eating. I'm in immense pain. I'm throwing up. And the doctor's like, so long as you never throw up green, you're good. Everything's fine. No, if you throw up green, then we've got a problem. And I remember it was the day I got discharged, and we literally are like, just send us home. We'll go to the doctor at home, but we need to get her home. It's best. And the doctor literally said, okay, we'll discharge you. I think that's a good plan. And as soon as he walked out of that room, I vomited this massive, massive amount of green vomit. And we're like, oh shit. My mom's like, I'm going to go get the doctor. And she started walking out my room, and he was walking down the hall, and she called for him and he didn't hear her. She's like, you know what? No, we're getting out of here. So we did. We'd had terrible care. The worst care I've ever had in the hospital, guys. It's supposed to be the best hospital in the country for this. And they were killing me. We drove 4 hours home that day. The worst car ride of my life. 4 hours home. For the next 2 days, my mom tried to get me to eat, tried to get me to drink, and I was unable to keep anything down. And finally, she's like, okay, I'm calling the doctor. She's like, this is, from what she says, the turning point was she gave me water and it hadn't even hit my stomach and I vomited water. She's like, okay, we're done. I'm calling the doctor. And it was actually after hours, guys. Or not after hours, but it was like, she called him and he's like, look, come in. I will stay a little bit later to get you checked out. No one else was in the office but him and us. This doctor. I love this doctor. And he took my vitals, my temperature, my heart rate, and my blood pressure. My temperature, he's like, you're at 100 degrees. There's maybe something. And he took my heart rate, and he's like, whoa. And then he saw my blood pressure. He's like, holy shit. And he turned to my mom and said, I want you to take her straight to Buffalo General Hospital. Straight to there. He's like, I don't want you stopping. He's like, if you do not promise me that you are not going straight there, I will call the ambulance right now. But you have got to get her to the Buffalo General Emergency Room ASAP. And I know we did stop to get my dad. We picked up my dad because my mom was too upset to drive any further. She's just like, no, I can't do this without Dad. So we stopped at my grandma's house for about 5 minutes while we waited for him. And I very vaguely remember this. I have very hazy memory of this. We got into the ER, and it was late at night. There was almost no one there, except for me and a drunk guy. A very loud drunk guy. I do remember that. But I was so sick that I didn't even give a shit. He was next to me in the room, and I didn't even give a shit. And the emergency doctor says, before he'd even done anything, we told him what was going on, and he says to my family, and this is what my mom's told me. She's like, he said, it's a miracle that you guys came in tonight. Because the president of surgery, the chief of surgery, is on call once every 5 weeks. One night every 5 weeks. And he's like, tonight is his night. He's literally the best doctor in the hospital to do this. Possibly the best doctor in the city. Possibly the state. And he's like, we're getting our CAT scan. I'm calling him. From what I remember, he didn't even wait for the CAT scan. He just called the doctor and said, you got to get in here. Because the surgeon that did my surgery, the amazing Dr. Merrill Dayton, I owe my life to him. He was there before the CAT scan was even done. And I don't really remember anything from that point except for the fact that my IV blew while they were trying to do the contrast for the CAT scan. According to my mom, he comes to them. He's like, your daughter is about 12 hours from death right now. Her body is shutting down. We're getting her into surgery right now. And he personally ran me from the emergency room to the OR. Took my gurney and ran at 3 o'clock in the morning. And holy crap, this video is getting long. It's a long story, guys. And that night he saved my life. That man is the most amazing man in the world. He saved my life many times. And if he were to see this, I have been trying to contact him. I haven't been able to get a hold of him. He has moved, and it's really hard getting a hold of him because I think he retired. But seriously, I thank the universe every day for sending this doctor to us because he changed my life in so many ways. He did my surgery, and I ended up in the ICU. Don't remember much of it at all. I do remember at one point being awake to my best friend and her parents visiting me. And I woke up, and she told me this story, actually. She's like, you were laying there like asleep, half dead. She's like, you looked so bad. I've never seen anything like it. She's like, I was just there touching you and like putting my arm on your arm, or my hand on your arm. And she's like, you woke up and you turned to me and said, she's like, you saw a Band-Aid on my finger, or that my finger was splinted or something like that. She's like, you didn't, she's like, you weren't, oh, I'm hurting or anything like that. No, you're like, what happened to your finger? And she's like, she burst into tears and laughed, and she's like, you were dying pretty much, and there you are, worried about my finger. long story short, I was in the hospital for a month. I was in ICU for a week. I was in step-down ICU for a week. That was when my boyfriend was finally able to visit me. I begged him to come for the first, or no. When we were in Ohio, he kind of wanted to come, and I'm like, no, you can't come and see me. Like, there's no way. We'd only been dating for like less than 6 months. And I'm like, you cannot come see me. And I remember when I got into the step-down ICU that I finally was like, can he, just someone tell him to please come up here. Then I spent 2 weeks on the normal floor. And then I finally got to go home. And I went home on the whole shebang, guys. IV fluids, or IV nutrition, IV fluids, all that stuff. I had a drain coming out of my belly. I had an ileostomy. I had a 12-inch long incision down my belly. It was bad, guys. And the day I came home from the hospital was actually also the day that I was supposed to go see Celtic Thunder, my favorite band. We had 3 tickets. Me, my mom, and my sister were going to go. And I begged the doctor, please let me go. Please let me go. He's like, I'm not comfortable with you going 3 hours away the day you got out of this hospital. And I was devastated. I was utterly devastated. And he's like, I've got a nurse coming to your house tonight. I really, no, you cannot go. And I was so sad, guys. So, but I made my mom go. I'm like, Mom, you, Jenna, and my aunt ended up going. I'm like, you guys go. Or my grandma, maybe. Yeah, it was my grandma. I'm like, you guys go. Dad's home. My other siblings are home. I'm fine. You know, the nurse is going to come and hook me up to my IV nutrition and all that. I'm good. And that was interesting. All right. So after that, I proceeded to have surgeries fairly often. I had bowel obstruction problems. I had a prolapsed ileostomy, and that was the day that I almost became a permanent ostomate, with a permanent ostomy. I had a blockage, and they were trying to take a look in to see where it was and see if they could clear it on their, and they actually put a Foley catheter in to the ostomy to try and puff it up so that it would pass some fluid, so that they could get some fluid to pass, get that drainage going, or get that bowel to drain itself out. The next morning after that, I woke up in horrible pain. And it was my ostomy. It was hurting so bad. And I looked down. And the ostomy that was about this big was now about that big. It's about 6 inches in diameter. And it went from being about this tall, sticking out of my belly, this much, to being this long. And all of the nurses are like, oh, shit. And it had prolapsed. It ended up that about 12 to 18 inches of my intestine was outside of my body. It was swelling. It was dying. And it was like that for a few days. And my doctor was like, he literally said, if this does not go down tonight, tomorrow morning, we have to do surgery because your bowel is going to die. It was already turning really dark, really close to the actual bowel death point. And miraculously, that night, it went back in. And unfortunately, when it went back in, it went in a little too far. That created a little bit of a problem, but it was not as big of a problem as losing that portion of my intestine. Because had I lost that portion of my intestine, I would have been permanently with an ostomy because there wouldn't have been enough intestine left in there. They'd already had to take some out from the first surgeries and a couple other surgeries I've had. So we literally didn't have enough if that had to come out. So I'm so thankful because I could not have lived my life. I could not have lived I did not handle my ostomy real well. I had a lot of problematic issues with it. I had very, very bad skin issues. I'm allergic to adhesives. Therefore, when you have an ostomy, you literally take an adhesive wafer and it sticks on your belly. And I was allergic to every single one. So I had constant skin infections and yeast rashes and all this horrible stuff. So ostomy life it just wasn't meant to be for me. Thank God it didn't happen. go a couple years down the line at this point. This is when the incontinence starts to kick in. They did finally reverse my ileostomy 2 years later. They reversed it, and I started having a working bowel. It was amazing. But this is also when we started noticing incontinence issues. I started wetting the bed. I was wetting the bed fairly regularly, and when I was not feeling good, I was wetting the bed. I was having bowel accidents all the time. Pooping your pants is not fun, guys. It's just not. And we started noticing these issues, and I started to have to wear diapers, especially at night, because I kept just wetting myself at night, and I was pooping myself at night and during the day, and it just became this issue. And in April of 2011, I lost complete control of my bladder. I had no more feeling in my bladder, and I had previously, within a few months of that, had one of my biggest surgeries ever, including the big one. They had to take up my spleen, and my spleen was attached to pretty much every organ it could be attached to. It was massive. It was 12 centimeters by 20 centimeters. It's supposed to be 5 centimeters by 12 centimeters. So it was humongous. And my doctor was like, this is the biggest spleen I've ever seen. And after that surgery was when the nerve death just went into full effect. I believe it was April 4th of 2011. I think I remember the day. Was the last day I ever wore underwear, guys. Or ever went without a diaper. And I was making lunch with my best friend who was there at the time, the same one from the finger thing earlier. I was making lunch, making macaroni and cheese, and I just peed. I'm like, I didn't even have to pee. Like, I didn't notice I had to pee. I just peed. I was like, oh, great. So I cleaned it up, changed my clothes, put back on new clothes. And then, suffice to say, it proceeded to happen a couple of times the rest of the day before I'm like, fuck it, I'm putting on a diaper. I called up Mom, and I'm like, Mom, you're going to need to pick up some diapers because I just peed my pants 4 times in a row. I can't feel it. Something's wrong. Through diagnosing, we went to the urologist. They did some testing. We actually ended up finding out that I needed surgery on my ovary. I believe we ended up in that the following May was when I had my surgery for my ovary. They were hoping that I had a tumor on my ovary. Well, my ovary turned into a massive tumor about the size of a grapefruit. Ovaries are walnut sized. Yeah. So they were hoping that was what was like pushing on my bladder, making these issues happen. And that wasn't the case, unfortunately. So then after that, we went to the urologist and they did all the testing and found out that I had complete nerve death in my bladder. The doctor actually was like, basically she lied about the test results because we saw the test results. I was in there. The way they do it, they do urodynamic testing and they hook you up to electrodes and catheters and start filling up your bladder. And the nurse was shocked because she's like, I've never seen this bad. She's like, your muscles are completely flatlined. She's like, normally at this point, you'd be seeing bloop, 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 like little contractions in the bladder letting you know, oh, hey, I kind of have to go to the bathroom. She's like, yours is totally flatlined. There's nothing. Until all of a sudden I'm like, I feel something and poosh. And what I felt was literally the urine leaving the inside of my body. I felt it on the skin on the outside, and that's all I could feel. And she's like, oh, sure enough, bloop, there goes the contraction. Your bladder just completely emptied itself. She's like, you have no nerves in your bladder anymore. They're dead. And the doctor is like, basically told my mom, oh, she's fine. She just needs to time void and work on it and not forget to go to the bathroom. She's fine. Her bladder's fine. She's just being lazy. We fired that doctor and got a new urologist who looked at the test and said, oh yeah, your nerves are shot. He's like, in fact, you're actually retaining urine because your bladder is emptying itself, but it's not fully emptying. So we need to put you on a medication that'll cause that bladder neck to just open up farther so that it allows all the urine out. It relaxes that muscle and just allows the urine to come out. He's like, you're already incontinent. This is going to help empty your bladder more. So we did that for a couple of years, and I was doing all well. No UTIs like I'd been having, all that stuff. So that was actually my last big surgery that I had when they took out my ovary. And life got better after that. It really did. I greatly improved. My bird is being a goofball. I greatly improved. I got stronger. I gained my weight back. I was able to go back to work. I went to church activities. I hung out with friends, and I was doing really, really, really good. Until I would say it was probably 2012-ish. Yeah, 2012 or something like that, when I had my leg issues start happening. In the hospital for 3 weeks, lost the use of my legs. They never figured out what was wrong. Blah, 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 blah. Had a relapse in 2013. No. The leg thing happened in the end of 2011 because it was 2 years later that I had a relapse of my leg issues in 2013. Anyway, but that being said, since the day in 2011, I have been completely dependent on diapers for containing the incontinence, both bowel and bladder. I am not fully bowel incontinent. I kind of at the moment voluntarily use my diaper for number 2 because I have a fissure in my intestine that causes extreme pain, bleeding, things like that. So I have to be in the right position to poop to allow my body to not tear that fissure every time I go. It's a very painful thing when that happens. I currently am dealing with it because I've taken a break from the diapers, and I'm currently dealing with it again right now, and it's really, really painful. It's causing a lot of bleeding again. And yeah, they could probably do surgery and fix this fissure, but I really don't want to go through surgery again because we did find out that I have a tumor, a desmoid tumor, which is a non-cancerous tumor. And if they go back in and do surgeries, it could cause more tumors to grow. It could cause this tumor to go from being a slow-growing tumor to causing it to go boom. And anytime they remove the tumors, it actually increases the likelihood of it growing back at a faster rate. It also increases the likelihood of more growing. So we kind of do surgery only when necessary. And at this point, I'd rather poop in a diaper than go through surgery. There's no shame in that for me. That is where my life is. It's making the best of what I have, I have to wear a diaper anyway, so why not? If I never use a toilet again, to save my body from going through the surgery process, because when I go through surgeries, guys, my system shuts down for 3 weeks. I have yet to have a surgery where I'm not in the hospital for at least 3 weeks. So it's really like, it is almost life and death situations at that point. So I'd rather poop a diaper than have to go through that again. I know at some point that's probably going to have to happen. But for now, life is good. My bowel issues, my intestinal issues are the least of my worries at this point. Which is kind of funny because for so long in my life, it was the whole point of my life. Like, that is what my life was about. Am I pooping? How much am I pooping? Am I pooping too much? Am I getting enough nutrition? Everything was about my butt and my gut. And now it's not about that. I do still have restrictions on that. I have to eat certain things. I can't eat others. And I know at this point what foods are going to affect me the worst. And I calculate the risks. If the risks outweigh the benefits, then I probably won't do it. But sometimes I just have to have something, that I know is going to cause some stomach issues. But in the end, I'm wearing a diaper, so if I poop myself, no big deal. I'm in it anyway. But, so yeah, now we're just kind of on the thing of I no longer can work because of my back issues, my seizures, all this other stuff that I'm not even going to get into. I am currently, for the second time in my life, applying for disability. I had disability in the past when I was going through all that. And Jimmy, shh. And they cut it off because of a paperwork snafu saying, well, if you didn't get your paperwork in, you're better, which I did get my paperwork in, guys. I did. And they're like, you're improved. And it's like, no, I'm not. In one way, I am improved, but in many other ways, I am going downhill. Anyway, that being said, this is going to be a freaking 40-minute long video. I apologize, guys, that it's so long, but I've had so many questions about it that I kind of wanted to answer them. So the current thing is I'm doing all right. Life is just very different for me. And I live the life of a chronically ill person, and that's okay. I'm learning to deal. I've learned to deal. I still go through my bad days where I pity myself, where I get upset. But guys, I'd rather be going through what I'm going through right now than going through what I have in the past. It was rough. It was a very, 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 very rough few years. And near death several times, guys. Several times. I have no eyebrows anymore because of one of those near-death experiences. I actually I extubated myself following a surgery and caused this side of my head to have some nerve damage, which has caused basically alopecia on my face. So yeah. Anyway, guys, I don't say this all to get pity from y'all. I'm just giving you guys kind of the story. And I don't want pity. I don't want that. I want you guys to be encouraged by this story. Life can be really hard, but we still can be happy. I have a wonderful partner, 2 wonderful partners in my life that love me greatly, and that literally I would not be functioning without them, and I wholeheartedly appreciate them. They are the 2 most amazing people, and my mom, guys. My mom is my rock. I love my mom to death. She's an amazing woman, and she is what has gotten me through many of these years. My mom and I were not close when I was, young, but once I became ill, my mom and I bonded like there's no other bond. We've been through so many things that there's just no other bond like it. And if my mom ever sees this video, she is my freaking rock. She is the most amazing person, and I love her. Andrew, if he ever were to see this, which he probably won't. He doesn't really watch my videos because he lives my life with me. He lives with me. He doesn't need to watch them. He's a rock. He is my rock, guys. And he and I have said this many times. We are in love. We are soulmates. We are so connected that even if we weren't a romantic couple anymore, even if we were not boyfriend and girlfriend, we'd still live with each other because that's how much we are connected to each other. And so yeah. Oh my God, this is hilarious. There's something on my screen, and that's funny. It's basically a picture my mom painted, but it's the actual place that she painted. Anyway, that being said, guys, I seriously thank all of you that are on my channel, my regulars. I really do appreciate every moment that you spend watching my videos or chatting with me in my streams. You guys are the bomb. I love you to death. And I'm really growing close to some of you, and I really love it. And you guys make my day. You guys, I love you to death, and you're awesome. And if you take anything away from this, guys, don't let life get you down. I am a spoonie. I only have so many spoons to give in a day, and I want to put all those spoons toward being happy, to making other people happy, to making my pets feel loved and comfortable, and to my family. And if I were not able to walk another step, that's what I would want my family to be. That is what I would want for my life. And I'm going to go ahead and end this video. You guys have my history now. So, any questions you have, leave them in the comments below. And feel free to ask whatever you want. If it's inappropriate, I won't answer, or I'll delete it. But I'll answer what I can. If you guys have any more questions, please, please, please feel free to ask. I would love to do a Q&A here before too long. So leave your comments. You can message me on Twitter. My Twitter will be in the description. On my social media. Ask away, and I will happily do a Q&A if I get enough questions. But anyways, I love you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it all the way to the end, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new, guys, welcome in. hit that subscribe button down below. I should do this at the beginning of my video. But, because God knows only 2 minutes of this will get watched. But that being said, if you made it to the end of this video, thumbs up my videos so that I know, how many of you stay. So, it's always interesting to find out. But 40 minutes long, God, I should break this into 2 parts. But I'm going to let y'all go. You're awesome. You rock. Life is beautiful, guys. Live it to the fullest.